Welcome back to DepDiv Podcast, the podcast where a land-based apex predator discusses a water-based apex predator with the professional respect that only comes from recognizing a colleague. I'm Maple, German Shepherd, impeccable instincts. Today, I yield the floor. Because today we talk about orcas, killer whales, or Sinis orca, the ocean's undisputed top dog, and I do not use that term lightly as a dog. The question on the table, they could absolutely eat us. Why don't they? Spoiler alert. The answer is actually way more unsettling than the eating would have been. Here is the situation. Orcas are the largest member of the dolphin family, which honestly already tells you nature has a twisted sense of humor. I mean, they grow up to 32 feet, 6 tons, they hunt great white sharks for sport, literally flip them upside down to induce tonic immobility and eat just their livers. Why? Because they can. But here's the kicker. In the wild, there is zero confirmed record of an orca killing a human. Zero. These animals could so easily reclassify us as a snack, but they have chosen not to. That choice, and believe me, it is a choice, is either the most comforting fact in marine biology or the absolute most terrifying, depending on how long you really sit with it. Okay, let's break down their biological profile to understand exactly what we're dealing with out there. Consider countershading. It's basically the absolute pinnacle of optical camouflage. If a prey animal looks down from above, the pitch-black back of the orca blends completely seamlessly into the murky darkness of the ocean depth. And if they look up from below, the orca's stark white underbelly just totally vanishes into the sunlit surface. This insane optical illusion is how a 10-ton creature, wrapped in 4 inches of blubber, manages to conquer literally every ocean on Earth and hunt over 140 different species without being detected until it is far, far too late. And their tactical intelligence when pack hunting, it's genuinely terrifying. We aren't just talking about grabbing some small fish here. We are talking about the systematic assassination of the blue whale, literally the largest creature in the history of planet Earth. They organize themselves like a highly trained military strike team. The strongest individuals coordinate, taking turns swimming over the massive blue whale's blowhole to actively suffocate it, while the others surgically bite into its flanks and target its tongue. They have absolutely zero upper limit when it comes to the size of their prey. None. Now, think about how they handle the ocean's other legendary predators, great white sharks. For years, perfectly intact great white carcasses were washing up in South Africa, missing nothing but their livers. The culprits? You guessed it, orcapods. They exploit this fatal biological flaw in the shark, called tonic immobility. They ram the shark at high speed, flip it completely upside down to induce a state of complete neural paralysis, and then just surgically extract its squalene-rich liver. The sheer terror this instills is so profound that surviving great whites will completely abandon their hunting territories for months the second they detect an approaching pod. So the really crucial point here is that these aren't just pre-programmed mindless instincts. Take their wave washing technique, for example. Down in Antarctica, a pod will pull back, form a perfectly synchronized line, and swim forward together to generate a massive, localized tsunami that washes a seal right off an ice floe. Or in Argentina, they use intentional beaching, launching their 6-ton bodies straight up onto dry sand to grab sea lions, before wriggling backward with the receding foam. These are incredibly dangerous maneuvers. They aren't hardwired into their DNA. They are meticulously taught by mothers to their calves through years of patient observation and practice. Let's start with the hardware, because orcas are biologically extraordinary even before we reach the philosophy. Echolocation. Orcas produce high-frequency clicks that bounce off objects and return incredibly detailed 3D acoustic pictures of their environment. Shape, size, density, movement, even internal structure. They can easily distinguish between different fish species at range, so they know exactly what a human is the moment we enter the water. We are not ambiguous to them. We are never mistaken for a seal. They see us clearly in 3 acoustic dimensions long before we've even registered that they're there. So the whole "they thought you were prey" defense, the one recycled every time a shark bites a surfer, yeah, that does not apply to orcas. They know. They have always known. Which brings us to an absolutely spectacular display of their lucid restraint. Back in 1972, off the coast of California, a surfer was paddling in some really turbulent, bubbly whitewash. Now, all those millions of tiny bubbles actually blind an orca's sonar. Relying purely on its vision, a hunting orca spotted a dark silhouette, surged forward, and clamped its jaws right around the surfer's leg. But the precise exact moment its teeth registered an alien human bone structure instead of the seal's blubber, it instantly released the surfer and swam away. Think about that. Even with its most ruthless primal hunting instinct accidentally triggered, its nervous system remained lucid enough to instantly recognize the error and actively abort the attack. Now the brain. Orca brains average around 15 pounds. Human brains? 3. But more critically, the orca brain contains a highly developed paralimbic lobe. This is the area associated with complex social bonding, emotional processing, and self-awareness. In plain language, they feel things deeply. And they grieve. Back in 2018, a mother orca carried her dead calf on the surface of the water for 17 days across 1,000 miles of ocean. That is not just some biological instinct. That is profound mourning. Then there's culture. Pods operate under strict matriarchal leadership. The oldest female guides the group, and her knowledge of hunting grounds and prey behavior is passed down across generations. Specific pods have specific dialects of clicks and calls. Other pods literally cannot decode them. This isn't just basic communication we're talking about. This is language. This is heritage. Different pods have developed entirely different hunting techniques, like we talked about. Some beach themselves, others coordinate wave washing, some even steal fish right off human long lines. These are learned, transmitted, and culturally preserved behaviors. We are quite literally watching a non-human civilization operate in real time. And this incredibly rich culture builds into something truly rare in nature: menopause. Almost no other species on Earth go through it. So why do female orcas stop reproducing around age 40 but then live for another 40 years? It's known as the grandmother hypothesis. By ceasing reproduction, they avoid competing with their own offspring for food. Instead, they act as living databanks of survival knowledge. These matriarchs, some living to nearly 80 years old, can pinpoint the exact migratory routes of salmon, navigate deep ocean currents, and find safe harbors. They alone ensure their pod's survival during severe food shortages. And this vast, ancient civilization has evaluated humans and decided we are not worth eating. The prevailing theory: orca dietary traditions are so deeply culturally ingrained that introducing a new prey item, even one as squishy, slow, and defenseless as us, simply isn't done. Grandma didn't hunt humans, Mom didn't hunt humans, the pod isn't starting now. We are spared by their conservatism. Just sit with that for a second. Now for the asterisk. Captive orcas have killed 3 trainers. But let's be real. Extreme stress, confinement, and social isolation will break any highly intelligent social animal. That's not orca nature. That is what happens when you put a 6-ton sentient being in a bathtub and call it entertainment. Wild orcas, they've had every opportunity, every ocean, every generation, and they've consistently declined. To really understand this asterisk, you have to understand zoochosis, which is a captivity-induced psychosis. In a concrete tank, their echolocation clicks continuously slam against the walls, causing agonizing acoustic sensory overload. Marine parks will often force individuals from entirely different oceans who speak entirely different dialects into the exact same cramped enclosures. This forced cohabitation inevitably leads to violent fights, causing orcas to gnaw on steel gates in sheer frustration until their teeth are shattered down to the pulp. And without the constant support of the ocean's depth, gravity just drags down their massive collagen fins, resulting in literally 100% of captive males suffering from dorsal fin collapse. This horrific systemic abuse culminated in the tragedy of Tilikum. Kidnapped at just 2 years old, housed with aggressive females, and locked in a pitch-black 20-foot metal module for over 14 hours every single night for years. The endless darkness and isolation completely fractured his mind. Over 34 years in captivity, Tilikum directly took the lives of 3 human beings, ultimately pulling his trainer Don Branchu under during a live performance. These killings were not accidental, nor were they driven by predatory hunger. They were the desperate wrath of a sentient mind subjected to prolonged systemic torture. It's a dark mirror reflecting humanity's crimes, not the reality of orca nature. Now contrast that broken, captive behavior with what's actually happening out in the wild right now. The media absolutely loves calling the recent boat sinkings around the Iberian Peninsula nature's uprising, but behavioral scientists have noted this is actually just a collective hydrodynamic practice drill by about 15 juveniles. It is essentially a cultural fad, exactly like human teenagers getting totally obsessed with a viral trend. They ram the rudders because the water vortices physically feel pleasurable to them. But here is the absolutely crucial detail. When those boats sink and panicked humans plunge into the water, the pod simply swims away. Even while destroying our stuff, they still strictly adhere to the cultural rule of not harming humans. And yet, while they maintain this incredibly steadfast peace treaty with us, we're actively poisoning their shared oceanic home. Modern supercargo ships are causing acoustic blindness, jamming their echolocation with totally deafening propellers. Legacy chemicals like PCB toxins are bioaccumulating in their blubber, causing severe immune degradation and truly alarming miscarriage rates. And our reckless dam construction has just decimated the Chinook salmon populations, forcing resident pods to face a very grim ultimatum: break thousands of years of cultural tradition to change their diet or starve. Let's pause here so I can ask you to do something far less impressive than what orcas do daily, but still very important. Subscribe. It's free, no echolocation required, no matriarch to ask permission. Leave a review. Tell someone. My producer monitors these metrics with the intense focus of an orca on a salmon run, and I monitor it with the focus of a shepherd who knows exactly where the tree chart is. Subscribe. The pod demands it. And that's a wrap. Orcas are smarter than us in measurable ways. They have deliberately declined to eat us out of cultural tradition. And honestly, they are running a more coherent society than several nations I could name, but definitely won't. Tremendous credit to my producer, FireflyHaku, who, much like the orca matriarch, holds all the institutional knowledge, sets the direction, and keeps this pod from swimming headfirst into walls. I am just the loud one who surfaces dramatically. Haku is the one who actually knows where we're going. So the big question, will humanity ever learn to reciprocate this profound restraint and harmony that these apex predators show us every day? To my loyal listeners, you are not on an orca's menu today. Cherish it.